finish at the 14-yard line with 4 down to score.
Didn't even ask you what to trade. Hey.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, you go ahead and proceed into the divisions.
Please.
Office of the Chief, be our first division. Total budget, $17.8 million compared to $11.5 in the 06 budget compared to $4.5 million 05 actual. This is related to that new housing rehab office.
Just a second. Kelly, is there some reason why the housing program is under the Office of the Chief instead of community services or a natural place?
When this was being put together, we needed to set up a new attribute in the accounting system for a new group, and that didn't get done, so it was rolled in with there kind of as a placeholder. We're in the process of changing the reports, and there will be a new group called Housing Rehab. So that piece really will be pulled out and reported separately going forward.
Okay.
Funding sources, you can see this division, obviously the $10 million plus of HUD funding for that department. Got a slight decrease in self-governance. IVC pool is pretty flat compared to last year, and about $800,000 increase on general fund. And that, we'll get into a little bit later, that increases in communications division. See the salary impact, and we've already seen this increase from that housing division. And the staffing level, like I said before, this is a increase of 58 persons. I believe 57 of those are that housing department. In your book, by department, that $600,000 increase, I'm on page 66. The Principal Chief's office compared to 06 budgets, a $600,000 increase or 53%. Now this is the Principal Chief's department. This doesn't have anything to do with the housing or communications. This is largely due to the charitable donation budget, which in the past has been a component of Gen Fund Ops, and now is being broken out into its own budget and assigned under the Principal Chief. Also contributing is the Secretary of State's budget for $204,000. Compared to 05 actuals, it's a 40% increase, $483,000. Again, the Secretary of State's budget, and an increase in the get out the vote carryover from the 05 spending. Government Relations Department is requesting a $194,000 increase over 06 budget level, or 20%. $84,000 of that is an increase in salary and benefits, with the balance primarily in operational line items, several. Government Relations is requesting $595,000 or 106% increase over the 05 spending level. Again, it's the get out the vote budget increase of $354,000, as well as an increase in Government Relations operational budget of $168,000. The Strategy Department has a $100,000 decrease compared to last year's budget, and almost $100,000 decrease compared to 05 actual. That particular department had a one-time strategic information systems plan in last year's budget that was not recurring. The decrease from the 05 actual spending is due to one-time projects in '05, such as the Economic Cluster Research, Saline Courthouse Planning, and the Community Polling Project. Those three individual projects were one-time. They occurred in '05 and didn't get repeated. The Solutions Department, no increase over the prior year budget. $78,000 increase over '05 actuals, primarily in salaries and contracted services. The communications budget, no change from '06. $1.25 million increase over '05. And I put a note in here that although there's no increase from prior year budget, a carryover request for $750,000 for the image campaign is repeated in this request, and no carryover is available. The funds are expended. The $750,000 of the increase is over '05 actual, again, is repeated, as well as additional increases in salaries and benefits of $190,000 and operational costs of another $163,000. The Tribal Relations Department, which is primarily the registration department, has no significant change from '06 spending level, has a 35% increase in actual spending over the '05 year. This is due to the staffing increase after '05. This department has consistently increased operationally over the past 3 years due to their load. And you may recall that you had to appropriate a subsidy, mid-year subsidy, because of that backlog of registration work. Housing Rehab Office, the new department, predominantly all HUD funding. Basically the rehab of the IHP, same $4.3 million in the '06 budget for rehab out of the '05 IHP is being repeated in the '07 budget. That means that during the course of '06, the $4.3 million rehab funding, none of that was, it's all being repeated again in '07. So I assumed that it was not expended. An additional $5.9 million is also being requested in this department to be funded out of the '06 IHP, the current Indian Housing Plan, and as well as the HIT funding of 1.1. And there's the 56. Excuse me, I said 57 earlier. It's 56 employees. The next page, you'll see the summary to the funding source chart. Tribal, indirect costs, the DOI self-governance, and HUD coming into the Office of the Chief Division. The next page fills it out by department that I just went over and explained their variances. And then the next page, next three pages, 70, 71, 72, are the actual detailed budgets. This format will be consistent throughout all the divisions. We'll look at their total budget chart, their funding source chart, the salaries and the full-time equivalents, and then go into the explanations. But again, the drill down capability exists, and all these reports are consistent throughout. The Tribal Council budget is the same budget as the '06 that's in here now, and without directive by the body as to what to do for the Tribal Council's '07 budget, it was just repeated at the same level for '06 until this body agrees on what that budget will be. The Legistar is not in here, and that's the decrease, but we will need to put a Legistar carryover into the budget. Everything else is flat compared to last year's budget. I'm not staying up on my charts. There's the difference in the Legistar, and it's on the Gen Fund. So there's a $150,000 decrease. IDC pulls flat. Salaries. Mr. Chairman.
Kara.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to verify, it seems like I read in there, we are still with the mechanism to carry over legal fees from unused general assistance, or unused legal fees to general assistance.
Yes.
And then, we do have, even if the total salary increase doesn't show a total salary increase, we do have a merit raise in the budget.
Yes.
Or is this-
No, not in this budget. This budget is exactly the same as '06 right now that's in this budget, in the system. Now, remember, this is just the proposed budget that came over from the administration. Until the council decides what's the '07 budget, then these numbers will change.
Okay, so we're not discussing that, the memo.
No. But y'all, I mean, I don't know when the appropriate time for y'all to do that is, but until y'all discuss that and come to a conclusion of what do you want the '07 tribal council budget to be, then we'll load that in here and we'll see we'll process that budget. Now, on the earlier question, on the legal fees, unused, rolling into community assistance, once the year, all the obligations from fiscal year '06 is entered into the system, we can quantify what those unspent legal fees are. Then I'll bring forth a budget mod next year to recognize that credit. They just need to be done after we know what the number is.
And unless, my other questions pertain to the memo on the '07 proposed council budget from Chair and Co-Chair.
Okay, that'll probably be done tomorrow when we go through the individual.
Thank you.
And you can see the increase of the two at large coming into the '06 budget and going into '07. The judicial branch. You see, we're significantly over the '05 spending level, even in the '06 budget and the '07. And I believe the majority of that is due to a grant. The Juvenile Healing to Wellness Court that is budgeting $635,000 in '07. It was $846 in '06, and it barely had begun in '05. Those numbers are in essence, that is the change in this chart. Everything else is really, it's pretty nominal. The tribal youth program has a $115,000 decrease in their budget, and the JAT's got an $80,000 increase in its budget. That's on page 82, what I'm reading from. But that's when we look at these charts and we understand that there's several factors that's driving the numbers up and down. Until we get to that detailed page that shows the budget, that's where you'll see the exact contributors to the movements of the money. The funding sources, you can see here the decrease in the other federal. Again, that's 200 of that $300,000 decrease is the Juvenile Wellness Court. The other 100 is the Tribal Youth Program. Any questions on that? Total salaries. Slight decrease, or slight increase in salaries, one position increase. The JAT itself, the Judicial Supreme Court, is budgeting $130,000 decrease over the court itself, not the district court, just the JAT, and a $490,000 increase over the '05 actuals. And both of those again are that Juvenile Healing to Wellness Court. The court, the Supreme Court itself, has a relatively small increase, that $80,000. The district court is budgeting a $55,000 decrease, or 11%, from the previous budget due to a reduction. There's the tribal youth program of $116,000, partially offset by a $61,000 increase in the district court's operational costs. It has a $119,000 increase over the 05 spending, primarily in salary and fringes of $80,000 or 45%. And this is the second year in a row the district court has maintained budgeted salaries over in excess of actual paid salaries for a couple of vacant positions. This is the second year in a row the positions are budgeted as vacancies again. They didn't get filled last year.
Jackson Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Doug, maybe I've missed my hearing. Talking about a tribal youth program. Is that program cease to exist, or is it going to be funded under another program, or what's happening here?
Jacob, I can't give you an answer with any confidence right now. Not the tribal youth program, but
Either healing the wellness court.
Well, that's the last comment, and I thought I caught it in another place there. A decrease from previous budget due to reduction in the tribal youth program of $116,000 in this situation.
I know it was a grant, and I don't know if they have applied for that grant or if it's even available again, but we could check and get an answer for you.
Thank you.
This is a federal funded program. Okay. Any questions other on judicial?
Are they showing, am I just not seeing, I guess, the difference, the increase for the positions that we've added? The justices?
That's the,
It went up from 368 to 329.
Where are you seeing that?
they're budgeting a 20% increase in salaries. They are budgeting the extra two
Capacity.
justices.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay.
You're seeing that $130,000 on page 79. The net decrease on the JT. Okay, that's a net of a $200,000 decrease from the juvenile healing to wellness court, offset by a $70,000 increase for the extra judges.
Okay. I got
The
it.
net number. I apologize, my explanation probably wasn't adequate.
Thank you.
Boards and commissions. Fairly consistent budget compared to last year. $1.5 million increase over 05 actuals. $1.2 of that increase is the vehicle tax. Goes back to the apportionment budget of the car tax revenue. Got a $800,000 increase on general fund. And that increase tribal election fund increasing $400,000 of that approximately $800 on gen fund. Approximately half of that's the election office. The gaming commission is requesting $489,000 increase. And get into that into the departments. And there's the salary change dropping by around $300,000. However, it's still $1.7 million more than '05. Eight employee increase over the '06 budget. The election commission itself has a $400,000 increase over this current year budget and a $490,000 increase over '05. Obviously, it's due to the '07 election. They have budgeted one extra full-time equivalent, and I think they've got several part-time positions in here for very part-time just for the election. The tax commission has a $1.3 million increase. Or 24%. And that's related again to that revenue estimate in '07 over '06, as well as the actual revenue in '05. And they're reflected in the apportionment reserve. The gaming commission is requesting a 19% or $489,000 increase over the current year budget. Significant increase are compared to prior budget as well as '05. Actual spending level, both variances are primarily due to the proposed staffing level increase, 5 positions shown, and an increase in gaming, tax, and license revenues. They are increasing their anticipated revenues to offset their increase in expenditures. But I believe with this significant of a budget increase, and we're going to hire people based on estimated revenues for gaming licenses and tax revenues, then this particular budget we need to monitor going forward. And this is one that if we don't achieve the revenues estimated in the budget, then they're going to be using non-budgeted gen fund money by default. So we'll be watching this one going forward to ensure they earn their estimated revenues. The Employee Appeals Board, no change from the '06. $22,000 increase over '05 because it was basically not utilized from the appeals board. Arkansas Riverbed Authority, this is a DOI earmark program. They're budgeting a $91,000 decrease over the current year in contract services, $306,000 increase or 220% over the '05 actuals in contract services. They've got a request of $497,000 that only utilized $35,000 of those earmarked funds in '05. Again, they're earmarked, they're not utilized, they carry over. Cherokee Publications, or Phoenix, or News Press. This is a 56% gen fund tribal funded program or department, requesting a $35,000 decrease spread across several line items. It's only a 4% decrease. A 13% decrease or $138,000 compared to '05 actuals. The program overspent its budget authority in '05 by a small amount, $7,000. The program also underachieved its revenue projection by $28,000 for a total shortfall of $35,000 in '05. The Port Authority, no change from Compared to 06 budget, $62,000 increase of 448% compared to 05 actuals. And that's due to a USDA-funded planning and development grant that was awarded this year. The Environmental Protection Commission, you can see both are significant decreases in their budget. Compared to the 06 budget, or $2.2 million decrease is due to the apparent completion of the Clean Air Monitoring Grant from 2006, with no budgeted replacement or extension of that grant. This budget also reflects the completion of several EPA grants in 06 that was awarded in 05 that are not being continued into the next 07 budget period. If they get a continuation or extension of the grant award, I'm sure we'll see some mod packages early in the year. Any questions on boards and commissions?
Questions? Everybody? Trust Authority?
EDTA, Economic Development Trust Authority? The loans, business loans, employee loans? I think that's career services, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Legal resources. Budgeting a $700,000 decrease compared to 06 budget, and a little over $325,000 increase over 05 actuals. By funding source, you can see that the $600,000 decrease compared to the current year is partially in the general fund, but the majority of it's in HUD. You may recall early in the presentation I addressed the Marshal Service, and they will request, I'm sure they have consistently included in the housing plan, law enforcement as one of the activities. And when the 07 IHP is awarded, I would expect to see a Marshal Service budget out of that IHP as well that will nullify the appearance of a budget reduction. About $180,000 decrease in budgeted salaries. It's about a $230,000 increase over 05 actuals.
Doug, is dollars for the Office of Attorney General, will they be under this section?
You know, I don't remember seeing an Attorney General budget.
Valley?
Yes, sir. That would be included in this section. None of the reports have been renamed, or I don't know if we're going to need a new accounting unit for the Attorney General. So as soon as we get that plan, we can revise the budgets and bring it forward in March.
So it's part of the Justice Department budget?
Yes. And General Counsel.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, part of my questions is in the spirit of the new Constitution for that office to be separated. And we should see dollars associated with an office of Attorney General.
I concur. And we saw it in the Secretary of State already.
And in terms of the timing of this, Valley, I'm trying to understand, I mean, we all want to support what's in the new Constitution, but with a separate office of Attorney General.
I agree.
That will be forthcoming, or
I will get with Diane and people around.
we'll be glad to earmark dollars.
Right.
The first department in legal resources is the Office of General Counsel. It's 100% funded by the general fund. They requested a $75,000 decrease in their budget compared to the 06, and it's a decrease in contracted services. It's a $175,000 increase over the 05 actuals for 22%. $140,000 of that is in salaries and fringes. This personnel increase actually occurred in the 06 budget cycle. So part of that increase in salaries is due to a staffing increase that happened mid-year. The Justice Department is requesting a $60,000 decrease compared to the current year budget. And that's due to a reduction in the housing code enforcement budget from the 06 Indian Housing Plan as compared to the level of 05 Indian Housing Plan funds utilized this year. It's a $234,000 increase or 38% over the 05 actual spending level. And that increase is in salaries of $172,000 or 50%, as well as minor increases on other operational line items. The Marshal Service is requesting a $538,000 decrease compared to the budget of 06, an $83,000 decrease compared to 05 actuals. It appears to be a significant reduction. However, again, when the 07 IHP is negotiated, expect another request from this program out of those funds, which is not reflected in this budget, and it will avoid any appearance of a budget decrease. Any questions on legal resources?
That's the first one, Mark, for, salary, after the decrease in employee, union wise, so, come back.
You're kind of like that.
The Marshal Service, they have an increase. They have an 8 increase.
Oh, they said more.
It appears that they're requesting 8 additional staff. And as Doug mentioned, because the 07 IHP has not been negotiated, they don't have that in here. So that's why there was a reduction in the overall request.
And the increase is on the HUD. Is this coming from this one? Staffing increases coming on the IHP cost centers. Even though 07's funding is not on the table yet, there's still an increase in full-time equivalents according to those line item budgets of 8 people. Okay. Education services. Shows a $1.7 million decrease compared to the 06 budget, but nearly a $9 million increase over 05 actuals. By funding source, see that the decrease of $600,000 on the federal funds. Get feedback. And a $300,000 increase on the general fund. Education services salaries are actually budgeting a decrease of about $200,000 compared to this year's budget, but a $2.6 million increase over 05. And here's the budgeted positions. You can see that those 30 positions increased over 05 in the budget. The Executive Director of Education, the budget comes in at a $5 million decrease, which is the Sequoia High School gym shift to CNI regarding the construction budget. A new initiative called Public School Outreach is included in this year's budget for $138,000. There wasn't any documentation submitted, so I can't comment on what it is.
Helene?
The $1.5 million increase over 05 for the Executive Director budget is because of the $1.8 million increase over the 05 actual level in the accounting treatment of the trust account. I'm talking about the education trust, the motor fuel tax, where 25% of our checks goes into the education trust. That's a budgeted reserve by appropriation, but we don't book it as a reserve. We just I'd say it's a budgeted item restriction on it. Childhood development, it's budgeting a $1.8 million decrease, and that's due to the removal of the enterprise fund, CDC centers in Tahlequah and Stillwell of $1.44 million, as well as the reduction of $328,000 of one-time funding for repairs on the early childhood facilities that was funded in 06 and not request for repeat. And that 328 is the combination of those two items that was on that first that slide of all the discretionary
Excuse me a second.
programs.
Kelly, do you know what this public school outreach is, or is it something you need to?
Yes, I believe I've got some information on that. This is the information I got from Dr. Morton. It's basically 3 projects. The first is Public School Outreach Program, which would provide an employee dedicated to serve as a liaison between area public schools and Cherokee Nation. Primary responsibilities would be increased involvement between public schools, Cherokee Nation, and Education Services, increased grant applications by public schools by giving them technical assistance. The second item is ACES chapters establishing in 10 public schools, 1 in each council district and 1 at large for the 2006-2007 school year. The chapters would be assisted and advised by NSU's chapter. The third is Cherokee Arts Traditions, and that's an initiative set up to address the need of recognizing, preserving, and perpetuating Cherokee art traditions within the community school districts.
Yeah.
Sally, there's not any explanation of what type of technical assistance we're going to give public schools.
The explanation I got was related to helping them apply for grants is one area. A lot of the smaller schools don't have anyone on staff who can help them fill out grant applications.
Is there a dollar total attached to each one of those initiatives?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. The Public School Outreach Program is $70,783. ACES is $35,000. And Cherokee Art Traditions is $32,617.
Could we get copies of that, please?
Sure. Dr. Morton was here earlier, and I asked him to come back tomorrow when we get into more questions, but I'll get you a copy of this.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
childhood development? Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Okay, $1 million decrease compared to the 05 actual. Also applies to the CDC centers being transferred. The Sequoia High School has a $554,000 budget decrease, primarily in operational line items. The decreases in DOI funding. It appears to have approximately $927,000 of funding from the administration budgets into the gifted, talented Title I budget. It's a $3.3 million $3.3 million increase over the 05 actuals. Comparison to this, the explanation that I said earlier applies, except the budgeted increase in DOI funding is $2.5 million more than last year that we just closed. That's 05. Now, I've got notes in here that I'm curious why the group would ask for discretionary funds with such a large increase in federal funds. The group has requested for a second time summer/student activities of over $376,000, with the majority of the budget to pay 3 part-time employees $50,000 summer salary with benefits, as well as an undisclosed $125,000 of client services. Also contained in this group is an increase of $150,000 to the 7th and 8th grade project, which takes the budget from $200,000 last year, which we went over earlier, has spent, I believe, about $49,000 so far this year, to over $350,000 in 07. This budget provides for 2 teachers at a salary of $52,000 each, as well as a building rent of $10,000 and utilities of $60,000. I'm not really sure why rent would cost $10,000 and utilities for that rent would cost $60,000. But those couple of budgets there, all I have is the line item budget, so all I can do is inform you of what's in them. But that's what's in them. That's what's driving the increase.
Audra?
On that 3 part-time employees, is that 50,000 for all 3 or 50,000 for each?
That was each. But I believe,
You want a summer job?
I think I could be a football coach.
I believe it's not a summer job any longer.
Mr. Carter?
Being an old-time teacher, I'm kind of like that salary too.
Did you ever make that much down?
No, I never did.
I was gonna say, that's a lot of money for summertime.
Callie, can you shed some light?
Yes, I can, thank you. That was a little bit of a mistake. Whoever filled out the payroll worksheet selected the wrong amount. They had it as $200 an hour, and yeah. You want to be a teacher now?
Yeah.
I'm disappointed.
I
I have requested revised budgets,
Okay.
and they've gotten it to me, but I had a couple more questions, and I will have those for you tomorrow. The utilities, I think, was an estimate based on the entire multipurpose center rather than just the classrooms, so they're going to correct that as well.
So we'll see something different for this.
Those 2 particular budgets, there will be revisions tomorrow.
Thank you.
Higher education is relatively flat compared to the 06 budget. It's $1.25 million increase over the 05 actuals. The slight increase over the 06 budget of $85,000 is the nursing cohort, if I'm saying that right. The $1.25 million increase related to the Cherokee Nation Scholarship funding that occurred this year of $648,000. That was the subsidy that the Tribal Council gave to the higher education program in 2006. As well as an increase over 05 spending levels in the following programs. Cherokee University, $198,000. Graduate scholarships, $112,000. And a $100,000 increase in admin funding for 2 additional employees and related operational costs for the higher education department. The culture,
Calvin, would you ask Dr. Morton also to address the 9th semester funding as proposed to help students who are not able to meet the requirements of the 8th? Is that built in here somewhere, or is he going to address that?
9th. I'm trying to take good notes today, but I would suggest that maybe tomorrow we have someone from each of the groups that you have questions on come over to address this, and maybe after we adjourn today, I can get with the chairman and Doug and put together some sort of schedule to make sure that we address all your questions.
That'd be fine. I would just like, for those folks to have some notice before they
Right,
come over.
and that's why I said I'm going to
Okay.
put the notes out, but just in case I miss one, I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to come and speak to you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair.
The culture program was a 1% increase over budget, 63,000. Very minor. It's a $2.1 million increase over '05. Related to the beginning of the Cherokee Immersion Project in late 2005, which accounts for $1.6 million of that, as well as the new management contract with the Heritage Center. That began this current fiscal year, which accounts for another $869,000 of the increase. Although it looks like a staggering culture increase, it is because of the Heritage Center and the immersion project. Johnston O'Malley, $116,000 increase, or 5%, over the current budget. $862,000, 54% increase over '05. A slight increase from the previous budget level, mainly related to the JON special project. The JON special projects budget of $622,000 appears to be bundling several of the previous approved projects, such as cultural competitions, Summer Institute, Cultural Enrichment, and Schools and Youth Leadership Institute. And they've got a position, 2 additional full-time equivalents that they're requesting. The Learn and Serve program has a $298,000 or 40% increase over the current year budget. It's the Serve America program, federal funded program. Their requested represents a $700,000 or 200% increase over the '05 annual spending level, which again is due to the Serve America program. Any questions on the education division at this point?
Thank you. David? Say again? We're through with education.
Mr. Chairman?
I've got a motion to recess, I've got a second. Philip, you have something to say?
I just had a question about the culture program. Could we also get some information on that culture program?
All minds clear on the motion? Go.
Because of the questions that was asked today, and maybe the possibility of not getting to the directors prior to the meeting, we changed it to 10 o'clock start time to get open up to the talk. Would that be fine? I would accept that.
Okay, got a motion and with a friendly amendment to recess at this time, come back here at 10 o'clock in the a.m. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. We'll pick up with health services.
Yeah. If you would like to leave your material on the table.
I'm sure everybody's going to take it home.